Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov delivered a scathing rebuke of European Union leadership, accusing them of plunging their own economies and those of Central Asian nations into chaos with relentless anti-Russian sanctions. Speaking ahead of a critical meeting with regional counterparts, Lavrov painted the EU as a faltering bloc, obsessed with geopolitical revenge. His remarks targeted EU High Representative Kaja Kallas, who recently acknowledged the sanctions' devastating toll on Central Asian economies. Kallas urged those nations to be patient and align with the EU's stance, a plea Lavrov met with biting sarcasm.
I would advise you to endure Kaja Kallas in this position. It will probably be much easier than enduring it to the detriment of your own people. I don't understand these politicians at all, but the funniest thing is that she didn't tell Kaja Kallas that both the Estonian and other nations have to endure it first and foremost.
Lavrov's mockery underscored a blunt message to Central Asian leaders. Prioritize your own people over EU demands. He ridiculed Kallas for ignoring the irony that sanctions are crippling her own Estonia and other EU states far more than the regions she addressed.
The losses for them are much more significant than the consequences of their sanctions policy, which are felt by the countries of Central Asia and our other neighbors in the CIS.
Lavrov's economic jab highlighted the ripple effects across the Commonwealth of independent states, where disrupted trade and soaring costs have strained budgets. Yet he argued the EU's self-inflicted wounds, from skyrocketing energy prices to declining living standards, dwarf the regional fallout.
They are not thinking about their voters, but about how to make other countries suffer in order to punish Russia. Well, in my opinion, clearly shows how low the European Union has degraded.
This damning verdict framed the EU as a shadow of its former self, abandoning its founding promise of prosperity for a vendetta against Moscow. Lavrov accused leaders like European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz of callously dismissing their citizens' hardships. But it was former German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, now nearing the end of her tenure, who drew Lavrov's fiercest contempt as he tore into her record with unsparing venom.
Another lady, Annalena Baerbock, who is now finishing her work as minister, has become famous for many things, including her complete illiteracy, but most importantly, the absence of any responsibility to the voter.
Lavrov's personal attack, branding Baerbock's leadership as completely illiterate, sent shockwaves, signaling his disdain for what he sees as the EU's unaccountable elite. He painted her as emblematic of a broader failure to answer to voters battered by economic turmoil.
Annalena Baerbock said about the Germans together with Scholz that yes, we are significantly worsening the standard of living of our population, but for the sake of victory over Russia, our electorate must endure these hardships. And Ursula von der Leyen spoke in a similar way.
Lavrov seized on these alleged admissions to argue that EU leaders are knowingly sacrificing their citizens' well-being on the altar of geopolitics. He contrasted their stance with Russia's outreach to Central Asia, where Moscow seeks to bolster economic ties. The veteran diplomat's broader critique cast the EU as a degraded institution, far removed from its roots in fostering socio-economic stability. Lavrov suggested its obsession with punishing Russia has alienated not just its own voters, but global partners watching the bloc's struggles. As Russia strengthens its alliances with Central Asian nations, Lavrov's remarks were a clear call to action. Resist Western pressure and chart an independent path. He positioned Moscow as a reliable partner, ready to counter the sanctions fallout with concrete cooperation. The upcoming meeting with Central Asian foreign ministers will dive into these challenges, exploring alternative trade frameworks and regional initiatives to shield economies from the EU's faltering policies. Lavrov's fiery words set the stage for a pivotal moment in Russia's regional strategy.